Hello everyone, this is Master Max 88 back on the Fabster Max 88 channel, here with another tier list video. It's been more than a year now since my last tier list video on this channel, so this is long overdue. I always meant to get back to making tier list videos at some point, so here I am, finally taking the time to do it, and as you can see, today, I'm going to be ranking all existing Fire Emblem games. And for those who know me quite well, you know how much of a fan of Fire Emblem I am, so I'm going to have quite a lot to say about many of these games. And I believe this tier list was also suggested by Pydaslacker. Come to think of it, it just crossed my mind now that Pydaslacker mentioned this a while ago during one of his live streams, I believe, that he was rather surprised I never took the time to make a tier list video about Fire Emblem games, so hopefully he comes across this video, because I vividly remember him mentioning something like that. So yeah, I'm doing it today, and this could also be useful for everyone that wasn't sure about which Fire Emblem game is best for them. I see a lot of comments about people saying, yeah, you know, I never really played a Fire Emblem game. I don't see what the hype is all about. I don't see why people are interested in these games. Well, for all the people that feel that way, this video might enlighten them just a little bit, just enough to maybe pick up one of these Fire Emblem games and try it for themselves. Because I can't do it justice. I can't do these games justice enough. So really the best thing to do, the best way to enjoy them, is to play it for yourself. You really need to experience Fire Emblem to know what it's all about. So yeah, all that said, we're gonna start this this tier list video by taking a look at the Fire Emblem games I did not play. It's rather shocking, I know, but there are some Fire Emblem games I never got to play, and I already proceeded to rank them. The very first one being, appropriately enough, the first Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and some sort of blade, the Blade of Light. Yeah, there you go. I always forget the full name of this one. It's Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, the very first Fire Emblem game to come out on the NES in 1990. And of course, the protagonist was Marth, a character that is very well known. Even if you're not a Fire Emblem fan, you've seen this character in Super Smash Bros., so I'm assuming most people know who he is. That is how it all started for Fire Emblem, and it's crazy to think I never got to play this game. Well, I did get to play it through the remake right here, which I will rank in a few moments, but I never touched the original. Never got to play it, and I know emulators exist. I know there's definitely fan translations out there, because one of the main reasons why I never played any of those games, and you can kind of see the cover of them, they're all Japanese. It's all in Japanese. They were only released in Japan, so it was very difficult for anyone living outside Japan to get their hands on them and to experience them. And even if you did get those games, you need to understand Japanese, right? So it's a bit challenging for Western players to, you know, fully enjoy these games, unless, like I said, you get an emulator and you find a fan translation, which I did for the second Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Gaiden. I did proceed to get an emulator and find a fan translation for it, and I'm gonna get to that in a few moments as well. But yeah, just want to explain why these games are there, why I never got to play them. Only released in Japan. I just prefer, I suppose, the authentic experience. So, if anything, if anyone proceeded to put one of the fan translations on an NES cartridge, I would definitely be tempted to buy it and play it that way. So that way it feels a lot more authentic than just getting an emulator on your computer and playing it that way. I'm not a big fan of it. I definitely understand the importance of it, don't get me wrong. Especially when it comes to Nintendo games. Those fucking things are so expensive. Fire Emblem games are just one of the most expensive things too. Like Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, I think it costs around $300 now. if not $400. It's incredibly expensive to get a Fire Emblem game. Fire Emblem Sacred Stones, easily $150. Fire Emblem Blazing Blade, at least $100. So that's one of the main issue with Fire Emblem. So I completely understand getting an emulator instead. But I'm just trying to say, for me personally, I'm not a big fan of it. So yeah, I'm also hoping that at some point these games will see some type of remake, because we've seen it with the second Fire Emblem game. It was remade for the 3DS with this one here, Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. The very first one was remade for the Nintendo DS with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. So at some point, we're probably going to see a remake of Genealogy of the Holy War, Thracia 776, the one with Roy, which I think is called The Binding Blade. We'll probably see a remake of that one too. It'll take some time, but we'll get there eventually. So yeah, those are some of the main reasons why I never got to play them. Only released in Japan, and I'm just waiting for a remake. So yeah, I can't really talk about these games much, but maybe at some point, if I get the time and motivation, I'll just get some sort of fan translation and try to experience these first Fire Emblem games. Maybe, it's possible, but right now, we'll focus on the Fire Emblem games I actually did play, and we'll start with the second Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Gaiden. Now, this one, I didn't complete. I think I played maybe about 3-4 hours of the game, and then I just kind of gave up on it. Not because it's not a fun game, but I don't know. NES games in general, I'm not a huge fan of. For me, it's Super Nintendo and up. Anything that came beforehand, it's a bit too primitive for my taste, and I just get bored of it. So I'm trying to say that in a respectful manner. I'm not trying to bash this game and saying it's a bad game. It's just not for me personally. So a bit difficult to rank it, because I didn't play the whole thing, but from what I got, I mean, great characters, great story, great music, so I'll give it a C. I'll put it down here at the C ranking. And I might as well jump to the remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden, Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, a game that I played thoroughly, and I fucking adore this game. I'm gonna give it an S ranking. Do I put it S or A? Hold on, I gotta think about this. If I compare it to the other two 3DS games, I have to give it S tier. It's arguably the best 3DS Fire Emblem game. I'm willing to go as far as to say that. The music was incredible, possibly one of the best Fire Emblem soundtrack that we've ever gotten. So that's one of the main reasons of why I'm putting it all the way up there. But yeah, the story itself was brilliant, fantastic. The characters were just extremely engaging. I wanted to see the whole story. I love that the remake added some new material. They added some new characters, some new maps, obviously some new music. So I really love how Fire Emblem Echoes developed Fire Emblem Gaiden right here and gave it so much more meat around the bone. And I just feasted on it, because my god, it was a fucking treat, that's for sure. So Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, one of my personal recommendation. I know someone asked me quite some time ago now, back when the 3DS was, you know, at the height of its popularity, which Fire Emblem game they should get on the 3DS, and I recommended Fire Emblem Echoes over Fire Emblem Awakening and Fire Emblem Fates. So that's how much I love this game and how high I regard it. So to me, it's easily one of the best Fire Emblem games and absolutely deserves the S tier. Fantastic all around, and probably quite expensive. I mean, I'm rather curious to take a look at how much Fire Emblem Echoes is worth now. I'll just have to put this off for a moment, and I'll get you the number. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia price. Let's go on price charting is usually where I see it. Oh, it's only worth $38. I'll be damned. That's a bargain right there. That is a bargain right there. Wow. Hey, no reason why you shouldn't get the game. No reason why you shouldn't get the game. If you have a 3DS and you want a wonderful game for it, go ahead and get yourself Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. Definitely worth the $38. Definitely worth it. So, yeah, easy S tier as far as I'm concerned. But let's go back to... I'm trying to put this in order. I know Blazing Blade was the first I played. Well, not the first one I played, but the first that was released here. I'm trying to just sort things out. And then we had Sacred Stones. And then after that, we add Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn, then Shadow Dragon, then Awakening, Fates, and Three Houses. Okay, there you go. This is the order. So, yeah, let's get to it. Fire Emblem Blazing Blade. Another game which I did not complete. I feel really bad about it. I think I got pretty close to the end, but I never got around finishing it, and sadly, I had to sell my copy of this game because at the end of the day, as much as I love Fire Emblem games, I need food a bit more than Fire Emblem. And sometimes my financial situation pushes me towards selling some of my favorite games, and Blazing Blade was one of them. It broke my heart, but dude, I just was in a bad spot, and I needed the money more than I needed to play this game. But from what I experienced, it's another game I would put at rank C. It just... I don't know, it didn't have the same impact on me than these other games did. As much as I loved it, and I love the character of Lyn, I think she's a fantastic Fire Emblem protagonist. She's just amazing, and I'm glad that we're seeing her in other Fire Emblem games. She came out in Fire Emblem Warriors, which, by the way, is not listed here. That's surprising. Fire Emblem Warriors is not here, as well as Fire Emblem Heroes. It just hit me now that there's actually some Fire Emblem games missing from this list here. Interesting. But I guess those are more spin-offs than official Fire Emblem games, so kind of makes sense. But yeah, Lyn, fantastic character. I love her design. I love her Sword Master class. She's a fucking badass. One of the most badass Fire Emblem characters. So I, of course, would love to play as her again in any other Fire Emblem games that may come in the future and have her in it too. But in the original was just my go-to character. But yeah, it didn't... I was not engaged enough to keep playing it, and I was not obsessed with it as much as I was with other Fire Emblem games here, and as much as I was with Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. So that's why I gotta give it the C ranking, which is not a bad ranking, by any means. It's not a bad ranking. It's just, me personally, not my favorite. Not my favorite, so I gotta put it there. Now, Fire Emblem Sacred Stones. Let's just proceed to the next one here. That one definitely had an impact on me. I played a lot more Fire Emblem Sacred Stones than I did Fire Emblem Gaiden or Fire Emblem Blazing Blade. So that one is easily a B ranking. I fucking love that game, but it's another game that I had to sell because, again, I was in a really bad spot. I needed the money more than I needed this game, and I had to sell it. It broke my heart, but it sold for a whopping $150, if memory serves. It was either $150 or $120, something like that, which, either way, pretty insane to think that a Game Boy Advance game sold for as much as that. So, yeah, Fire Emblem games are worth quite a fortune, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any of these games, always keep in mind that Fire Emblem games, they're worth a lot. So keep them around. But yeah, I sold my copy, broke my heart, because I really fucking love this game. And I would always go back to it, maybe once a year or once every 2 years, to re-experience the story. It's not the very first Fire Emblem game I played in my life. I think it might have been the second or third Fire Emblem game I played. And the beautiful thing about this one is that I could play it anywhere I want. You know, when I would visit friends or visit other family members, I would just bring my Game Boy Advance, put Sacred Stones in it, I'd start playing the game, and I just, you know, I fucking loved it. I loved it. It was nothing too original in terms of the story. I mean, you end up facing a dragon like you do in so many of these Fire Emblem games. So it was following the same cliche story. And hold up, let me hydrate a little bit. My throat is killing me. One moment. Good lord. I feel better now. I can continue. But yeah, the story was nothing too creative, but what really made this game compelling are the characters and the fact that the story would split in two. That's something I really loved about it, is that you follow the story of two characters, much like you do in Fire Emblem Echo Shadows of Lantia or Fire Emblem Gaiden. It's something that always appealed to me, that you see the story unfold in two separate paths. So for that reason, I always love getting back to this game here. But yeah, it did not have the biggest impact on me. So for that reason, I have to leave it at a B ranking, but I still recommend it. If you have a Game Boy Advance and you're willing to pay a lot of money, you might want to add this game to your collection. Fire Emblem Sacred Stones is a wonderful, wonderful game. An absolute must for everyone that is collecting some of the best Nintendo games. You gotta think about getting this one. Now, all the other games here, I have a lot to say about them. I have a lot to say, especially about this next one here. Where do I even start? I mean, easy S tier. Like, these two games, S tier. These two are my favorite Fire Emblem games of all time. So, they're going all the way to the top. And this is the very first Fire Emblem game I ever played in my entire life. Fire Emblem Path of Radiance was suggested to me. I think it might have been a GameStop. Was it a GameStop? Or was it another video game store? I don't think it was a GameStop. It was, anyway, some other type of video game store. I got there, and the clerk at the time recommended for me to buy Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. I was not familiar with the franchise. I had no idea what Fire Emblem was, but I took him up on his recommendation, went back home, started playing the game, and I failed miserably. I wasn't able to make any kind of progress. I would just have all my characters die, because the thing in Fire Emblem Path of Radiance is that permanent death was activated by default. You could not disable it. You had to get through the game with permanent death. Unlike modern Fire Emblem games where you can just, you know, put it off, you couldn't do it. You just had to go through the game and accept the consequences of your mistakes. If you end up losing a character, you lose the character for the entirety of the game. That's just how it went. So I had to become a lot more familiar with the concept of Fire Emblem. I had to develop some strategies. I had to get familiar with the characters. So I spent a lot of time playing Path of Radiance, a whole lot of time. I might have completed the game 20, 30 times by now, probably 30-something times. So I'm very familiar with the story, the characters, and it's one of the main reasons why it's at S tier here. And I didn't do it because I was forcing myself to do it. I did it because I just absolutely loved the game. There was something magical about it. I love the characters, I love the story more so than any other Fire Emblem games. Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn, by the way, are part of the same universe. They have the same characters involved. So you see Ike, the beginning of his story in Path of Radiance, and then the rest of his story in Radiant Dawn. So that's why I kind of put them together. I always saw it as part one, part two. You can't have one without the other. So yeah, I spent so much time with these games that I ended up falling in love with the characters, man. I just fucking love their concept, and became so familiar with their stats and the strategies and the maps and the bosses and just everything about these two games, that I think it's safe to say that, yeah, these are my favorite games of all time. If I end up making finally my top 10 favorite games of all time video, this would definitely be number one. So huge recommendation from me to you. The problem is, though, very expensive, very difficult to find Fire Emblem Path of Radiance or Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. More so for Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. The game is worth about $300, $400 now. And Radiant Dawn, not as bad, but it's still $100, $150. And I know it's not everyone that has a GameCube, so that's another problem that may come up. So, if anything, get an emulator, play these games, and you'll see for yourself why I just became obsessed with these two games. And I'm definitely hoping for a remake. I've heard a lot of talks about a potential remake of Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. It would also give new Fire Emblem fans a chance to experience it for themselves, so I feel it would be very useful for Nintendo to do it. But if they do have a remake of Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, it also means that they skipped over previous Fire Emblem games like Genealogy of the Holy War, Thracia 776, and Binding Blade right here. So I could see a lot of people being pissed off about it. I sure wouldn't complain, though. To see a remake of these two games, I'd go crazy. I'd lose my shit, dude. That would be the greatest day in my life. One of the greatest days in my life. I'd love to see it. But yeah, I definitely find myself playing these two games every year. Every freaking year, I go back to them. And maybe I won't play all of it, but I'm going to play a good chunk of it just to remind myself how much I love these games. So yeah, S tier. Definitely S tier. And I was lucky enough to buy the games when they were released. I didn't have to buy them later on when they got super crazy expensive. I bought them as they were released. I'm forever going to be thankful to that video game store employee that recommended Path of Radiance. He saved me a lot of money, and he just made me discover this amazing franchise. But enough talk about these two games. I feel like I've been going on and on about it. I'll move on to the other one on the list, which is Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, a remake of the very first Fire Emblem game. That one is another one I didn't complete, and I wasn't a big fan of it. Probably the one game that I dislike the most, to be honest with you. I'm even going to give it the D rank. The character designs just didn't do it for me. I didn't like the maps. I didn't like the story. I wasn't a big fan of it. So it didn't really break my heart when I ended up selling this one. It's another Fire Emblem game I sold. I sold Sacred Stones, Blazing Blade, and Shadow Dragon. That one, it just, it happened. I was okay with it. I don't know. It really didn't do it for me. I'm trying to explain it to the best of my abilities why it just wasn't it. I got bored of it. More so than any of these other Fire Emblem games. I started playing and I kind of gave up by the third mission. I just didn't feel it. I don't know. It's weird. I was not engaged whatsoever with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, so I gotta give it the D ranking. Not to say that it's a horrible game. If you're truly a hardcore Fire Emblem fan through and through, more than I am, you're probably gonna pick this up and find it amazing. But I don't know. Me personally, it didn't do it. So I'll move on to the other one here, Fire Emblem Awakening, S tier. I don't enjoy it as much as Fire Emblem Echo Shadows of Valentia, but it's not that big of a split between the two. I enjoy Fire Emblem Echoes just a tiny little bit more than I do Fire Emblem Awakening. They're very, very, very close. Fire Emblem Awakening is the one Fire Emblem game that saved the franchise, so I owe a lot to it. Every single Fire Emblem fans owe a lot to Fire Emblem Awakening. And in many ways, it felt like the ultimate tribute to Fire Emblem, because you could download some previous Fire Emblem characters, you could add them to your team, so characters from all the Fire Emblem games you see here, all the Fire Emblem games that were released before Fire Emblem Awakening, of course. You could just have a team where you have your favorite Fire Emblem characters, and that's one aspect that I found absolutely amazing. I love Chrom, I love Robin, I love Lucina, I love Frederick. Just so many characters in this one that are amazing. I love that final fucking map was great. Oh my gosh, they all have great final maps, by the way. All of these, all the games at the S tier rank had just an amazing final map to it. Fire Emblem Battle Radiance and Radiant Dawn, gotta give props where it's due, did not have a dragon as the final boss. In this one, you just fight some sort of mad king, and in Radiant Dawn, you fight a goddess. So, they definitely stand out from the rest, because finally, you're not fighting some sort of goddamn dragon. In Echoes, you do fight a dragon. In Awakening, you fight a dragon as well, or some sort of creature that looks like a dragon. So, another reason why it's my favorite. But still, it was a badass final map in these two instances. It really felt climactic. The payoff was great. You just got pumped up to kill the final boss, to resolve the conflict, the war, and bring peace back in those respective universes. So yeah, Fire Emblem Awakening was an amazing experience through and through. Left a huge impact on me. Like, I remember it came out during the summer of 2013, or was it 2014? It might have been... I'm trying to remember. It might have been 2012. No. That doesn't seem right. I'm pretty sure I played it in 2013. It might have been released in 2012, but I played Fire Emblem Awakening in 2013. And the main reason why I remember that is I played it during college, back when I was at college with Flying Shark. I would just bring my 3DS with me and start playing Awakening, and I would just be really absorbed into the universe of Fire Emblem Awakening. And it was always the best part of my days. I fucking love that game so much. So yeah, easy S tier for me. Fire Emblem Awakening is always going to be a recommendation that I'm going to give new players of Fire Emblem. This one is just such a great introduction to the series, but you need to have a 3DS. That's the thing. It can be complicated to have one now, especially with 3DS just not being made anymore. So I don't know. If you do happen to have one, consider getting it. Fire Emblem Awakening, Fire Emblem Echoes, just get both of them at this point. But if you have to choose between the two, I will still maintain that Fire Emblem Echoes is a bit of a better game. So, there you go. Moving on to the third Fire Emblem game on the 3DS. And fitting enough, we have 3 games. It's all part of the same universe, all part of the same game. It's just split into 3 different paths. So we have Fire Emblem Fates Birthright, Fire Emblem Fates Conquest, and Fire Emblem Fates Revelation. It just feels to me like a big money grab by Nintendo. I still disapprove of their approach with this one. They really should have just released one game with all 3 paths, but instead of that, you had to buy them separately and spend quite a bit of money. Though you could save a little bit of cash by just buying Fire Emblem Conquest or Birthright, then buying it online. I think you'd save about $20-something, maybe $30-something. And then Revelation was DLC only, so you couldn't buy it as a physical copy, you had to buy it online. And that is now a very, very difficult thing with the Nintendo 3DS eShop closing down. Soon enough, Revelation will be completely removed from circulation. So if you have a 3DS and you have Birthright or Conquest, quickly get Revelation before it just doesn't exist anymore. Just a heads up here. But yeah, Fire Emblem Fates was an interesting one. Definitely the one that didn't hit me as hard as far as the Fire Emblem 3DS games are concerned. That one I did enjoy, but not as much as Echoes or Awakening. So for that reason, I have to put it in the A ranking. Although, do I put all 3 games in the A ranking is what I'm asking myself right now. Birthright, I gotta give it the B ranking, actually. Conquest, A ranking for sure. Revelation as well. But Birthright, no, I gotta put it a little bit lower. Because out of the three paths, this is the one I enjoy the least. And it all comes down to preferences. The game is relatively the same. It's just the units you have, the characters you play as, changed upon the path you've chosen. So Conquest, it's more of a medieval Europe experience, more of a medieval Europe universe, whereas Birthright is more of a samurai Japanese vibe to it. So depending what you prefer personally, you're going to pick one over the other. And Fire Emblem Conquest is more challenging as well, I should say. Fire Emblem Conquest was meant more for the experienced Fire Emblem players, whereas Birthright was meant for the beginners, so people that were just getting into Fire Emblem Faith. You would have more experience points, more gold, more missions, more chances to familiarize yourself with Fire Emblem. So definitely the best pick for people that were new to Fire Emblem. Conquest definitely proved to be a lot more challenging. You would not get as much help as you would in Birthright, and it would be a lot more punishing that way. But yeah, Conquest, I actually went to play that game a few weeks ago now to just refresh my memory as to where I would rank this thing, and after going back through it, I feel comfortable giving it the A ranking. It's not as bad as I said in the past. I remember saying a couple times that Fire Emblem Fates was a mistake. It was kind of the black sheep of the family in terms of Fire Emblem games, but it's not as bad as I made it out to be. Once again, my throat is killing me. My apologies. It's been an incredibly warm day here, so I'm a little bit dehydrated, but yeah, nowhere near as bad as I've said sometimes in the past. There's definitely a lot of great characters. Camilla, Mama Camilla, holy fucking shit, the ultimate fan service. I forgot how much of an amazing character she is, man. She's something else. I don't think we've ever seen a character like her in Fire Emblem. She was pure fan service. It wasn't even subtle. So I forgot how great of a character she is. I also love her class. Any Wyvern Lords is always a huge plus in my book. So Camilla being a Wyvern Lord, she was instantly one of my favorite characters in Fire Emblem Fates. And I just, again, prefer the whole medieval Europe vibe to this thing. Revelation was just a combination of the two. Essentially, in this one, you play as all characters. You'd have every single character from Conquest and Birthright, combine all of them, and then get the true ending. So, definitely a must. You know, if you want to see the real ending of Fire Emblem Fates, you needed to get this DLC and play this path. So, a huge recommendation from me if you didn't get it yet. And like I said, be quick, because it will be completely removed from the Nintendo 3DS eShop, which I think that will be closed next March. So March 2023 is when all of that will be closed forever. So be quick. Well, yeah, Fire Emblem Fates, nothing too creative. The story was pretty fucking bland. Corrin wasn't a really good protagonist, in my opinion. I feel like Corrin was a bit bland. Could have been a better protagonist. Definitely not as interesting as Robin, as Alm or Celica or Ike. So yeah, just not the best characters, not the best story, but still a real fun game to play. The game itself was really, really fun. I love the aspect that you could create your own castle and people online could try to raid your castle. That was pretty fun at the time. Problem is, I didn't really have any fans that... I didn't have really any friends, I should say, and fans on my YouTube channel that played Fire Emblem. So, I didn't really have anyone online to play with. I just had random strangers raiding my castle at times, and I would also raid their castles. So, it wasn't as fun as it could have been. But still, pretty fun Fire Emblem game. Like I said, I started playing it a few weeks ago now, playing it again a few weeks ago. And it's been fun enough that I've been playing it every single day until I just didn't have the time and I had to leave it down. But yeah, let's just finish this tier list. I've been recording for what now? Feels like I've been going for quite some time. 30 minutes. 30 fucking minutes. Alright, I'll be quick. I'll move on to the final and next one, which is Fire Emblem Three Houses. Easily S tier. And... oh, man. I'm having a tough time with Fire Emblem Three Houses. Not in terms of where I'm ranking it, but in terms of, do I prefer it even more than Fire Emblem Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn? I've been debating on it for quite some time now, and I'm really split. I'm not quite ready to pronounce myself on that. I'm not quite ready to make a final judgment on where I put Three Houses. Do I put it as my absolute favorite Fire Emblem game? I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. I really am. I really am. But right now, I'm still giving it to Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn because of childhood memories, nostalgic values. But Three Houses is by far the most complete Fire Emblem experience. For sure. You have the best support conversations, the best maps, the best characters. I will say, you have the best characters. It's hard to argue against that. Best soundtrack. I still lean towards Fire Emblem Echoes, Shadows of Valentia for that one. But Three Houses is really, really effing close in terms of music quality. And you also get the most gameplay. That's something else. That's something else. I mean, you get 5 different paths in this one. Fire Emblem Fates, you get 3, which you need to buy separately. In Fire Emblem Three Houses, you buy 1 game and you get 4 paths, with 1 extra being DLC. So, much better deal, in my opinion, and much more fun than Fire Emblem Fates. So, yeah. Really seems like the best value and the best experience and the best Fire Emblem game. Oh, God. No, I'm not going to make that decision today. I'm not ready to make that decision. I still have to think about if it is my absolute favorite Fire Emblem game or not. I have to ponder about it. But, yeah, fantastic game. I live streamed that game for 24 hours, and I could have kept going. I could have easily went 30-something hours of just playing Fire Emblem Three Houses. That's how much I love this one. And I'm so ecstatic about Fire Emblem Three Hopes. It's essentially a Dynasty Warriors type game with characters of 3 houses. I'll leave it there for now, but if you have a Switch, get this game. Please, by all means, get Fire Emblem Three Houses. You get hours upon hours of gameplay, and I feel like even if you're not a huge fan of Fire Emblem, you will get some enjoyment out of this one. And, oh my God, I want to do this. I really, I feel like doing this, but I may end up regretting it. So, no. I gotta leave it there for now. But yeah, what a fantastic game. What a fantastic game. One of the most engaging Fire Emblem game I've ever played in my entire life. And it definitely looks great for the future of Fire Emblem game. You know, as far as I'm concerned, they've only gotten better with time. Really, they just took this concept and then they just kept polishing it and they just made it better and better and better and better and better. So, Intelligent Systems, the studio behind all these wonderful games, have been perfecting the art of creating a Fire Emblem game, and all of that has led to the creation of this fucking gem right here, Fire Emblem Three Houses. So the future looks bright. As far as Fire Emblem is concerned, the future looks amazing. I feel like whatever comes next is going to blow our minds. It's probably going to be something insane. We'll have better graphics, maybe even better music, better maps, better everything. I'm very optimistic for the future of this franchise, and this kind of concludes my tier list about all the existing Fire Emblem games. I feel pretty comfortable with these rankings. Again, these are just my personal rankings. A lot of hardcore Fire Emblem fans would look at this in disgust and be like, how fucking dare you not put some of the old school Fire Emblem games, you know, at S tier or A tier. How dare you put all of them below here? Again, it's games I didn't play. I didn't play them, okay? I'm just waiting for a possible remake at some point. And look at how far up I put Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. That is the second Fire Emblem game, right? So that's pretty old school. And I put it all the way here at S tier, and I said it's my favorite Fire Emblem game on the 3DS. It absolutely is. So I don't really look badly upon him, except Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, but that's a remake of the first one, and kind of a bad remake. It could have been so much better. This one could have been better. I mean, come on. What were they thinking? What were they doing? So yeah, no, I feel pretty content with these rankings, and yeah, hopefully that made you a bit more interested in discovering Fire Emblem. Biggest recommendation is Fire Emblem Three Houses. It's the most recent game that just came out on the Switch, so definitely my go-to recommendation. If you happen to have a 3DS, go for Fire Emblem Echoes. If you happen to have a lot of money and you own a GameCube, you can try to go for Path of Radiance. It is still, after all, my personal favorite Fire Emblem game. The very first one I played, and the one that had the biggest impact on me. And also features my favorite Fire Emblem character. That's something else I don't think I talked about, but the Black Knight, still to this day, remains my favorite Fire Emblem character. It is not Anna, and it is not Hilda. As much as I keep retweeting Hilda Heart on my Twitter profile, my favorite Fire Emblem character is actually the Black Knight. There's just not as much art of him as you have with Hilda or Anna or Byleth. So yeah, that's why you don't see him as much on my Twitter profile. But yeah, I feel like this video went on for long enough. I'm gonna stop it here. I'm done ranking these games, and thank you so much for watching. Hopefully Pie the Psycho is gonna come across this video. I know he talked about it in the past, and I finally did it now. So yeah, hoping to see a comment from him. I'd love to see what he thinks about my ranking. And by the way, actually, if Pie comes across this video, there we go. There we go. Just for you, Pie. Just for you. That's where I would honestly put Fire Emblem Fate's Birthright. Complete trash. What a garbage game.